Hey everybody, Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com, back with my Pittsburgh Steelers final 2025 mock draft, predicting what I think the Pittsburgh Steelers will do come draft weekend, not what I personally would do. Here are my predictions. Let's talk about it. Before we start, if you guys could like this video, subscribe to the channel, and check out the site, SteelersDepot.com. Would really appreciate that. Got a ton of pre- and certainly post-draft analysis and coverage to have you guys ready to go before, during, and after draft weekend. A couple of caveats, and we'll get into the picks here in just one moment. It's going to be just some pictures on screen. Doing the video at this time of year is super busy for me. Plus, I'm getting copyright strike to heck and back with YouTube clips right now, so not even going to put in that kind of time. Again, this is what I think the team will do, not what I necessarily would do, and this is recorded before Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan speak on Tuesday, so anything they happen to say will be not impacted by my predictions for the site or in this video. Not that I expect Tomlin or Khan to say anything massive that's going to change anyone's mock draft. Anyway, to the point, let's get to the first round taking Derek Harmon, the defensive lineman, defensive end out of Oregon. Certainly quarterback could be an option. It's a real wild card. I have no idea what's going to happen to these quarterbacks. Pittsburgh's level of interest, it's there, obviously. If Shedeur Sanders falls, will they take him? Do they truly love Jackson Dart? We're going to have to wait and see, but I just think overall, you look at a Pittsburgh team that gave up 299 yards rushing to Baltimore, did not significantly invest in the defensive line this offseason. They cut Larry Ogunjobi. They signed some veteran backups and guys like Daniel Quale and brought back Isaiah Loudermilk, but there is no starter there. And for a team that focused so much knowing how important the offensive trenches were in Omar Khan's first two drafts, how could they ignore defensive line early in a deep class? Yes, you could get somebody in the third round, but you're still waiting to 83. You don't know exactly who is going to be there, and it just feels like a risk not worth taking. So if there is a quarterback they love, I think they'll take that. But I'm going Harmon, who certainly feels like a Pittsburgh Steeler up and down, has the size profile they like at almost 6'5", well over 300 pounds with long 34-plus inch arms. He's big, he's strong, he can rush the passer. A really well-rounded game broke out in 2024, transferring from Michigan State to Oregon. High character, good athlete, ran a sub-5 second 40. He's not maybe the premier pass rusher that, Cam Hayward became to be, and I think Harmon has to get stronger with his bull rush, clean up missed tackles, missed opportunities, finish plays. He left a lot of them out there on the field, but he does feel like the heir apparent to Cam Hayward. Pittsburgh brought him in for a pre-draft visit, a very important box to check, and I think will be the pick if he's on the board. No second-round pick that was traded to the Seahawks in the DK Metcalf trade. Could Pittsburgh trade down? They could, but predicting that I don't do in my mock drafts, and it just depends on the board and the offers, and nobody really knows what that'll look like until basically the time comes on Thursday night. So in round 3, number 83 overall, going running back Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee. Now, when I watched Sampson, I did not write the full scouting report on Steelers Depot on Dylan Sampson, but in the tape that I watched, I didn't love his game. There's certainly a speed factor that is very real to turn the corner in the second level in space, but it felt a little too hit and miss. I didn't love the vision. The power isn't overwhelming. How great is the pass protection? But this is not what I would do, and I will need to do a deeper study into Sampson should he be the pick. Where I think Pittsburgh comes in, they're taking a running back. That is almost written in pen. They brought in 9 running backs for pre-draft visits. They didn't make any giant additions after losing Najee Harris. They signed Kenneth Gainwell, but that's a one-year deal, and certainly he's not the back of the long-term future, more third-down niche type of role. They want speed, Pittsburgh does. They need speed in the backfield, guys that can create big plays. That's why you go out and trade for a Metcalf. That's why, to an extent, and certainly lesser degree, you acquire and sign a Kenneth Gainwell, a guy that can win in space, even though he's kind of more quick than fast. But Sampson is certainly fast. He's a home run hitter. He's a guy that ran in the 4.4s and certainly ripped off big runs at Tennessee. While I think Pittsburgh is changing their model from the bigger bruiser type of running back, the Le'Veon Bells, the James Connors, the Najee Harrises, the Benny Snells, 2 guys that are smaller and more explosive, I still think they'll hold true to other running back values. They want somebody that was productive with really good pedigree, that did so in a big conference against great competition. I think they view running backs, if you didn't do it on Saturdays, how can we expect you to have success on Sundays. You look at all those picks I mentioned, all those names I talked about, Harris, Bell, etc. They were all uber productive and played against top competition. Sampson checks that box with flying colors. He was incredibly productive at Tennessee in 2024, led the SEC in carries and rushing yards and rushing touchdowns, rushed for at least 100 yards in all but 3 games, and had some really big performances. One against Alabama in particular really stuck out. And so he's a guy that, despite being a bit smaller, was the guy, the workhorse back. He wouldn't have to be that in Pittsburgh, but that'll still be attractive. If there was an injury to Jalen Moore, that Sampson has been the guy before, has shouldered the load and really been the focal point of the offense. He's high character too. There's really good stories and feature pieces about him off the field. Team captain in high school, had a high GPA, did a lot of community work at Tennessee, and so that's going to be important to Pittsburgh as well. So combine all those factors, the interest in running back, the obvious need there, Sampson's explosiveness, his production, his character, he's the pick at number 83. Round number 4, going Dante Thornton, the receiver out of Tennessee, going back-to-back volunteers here. Now, I've really thought about receiver in the top 2 days, the first or third round. Just couldn't make it work because of the need at defensive line and all the interest in running back, so I went wide receiver here. No positional coach was spotted more in Pittsburgh on the pro day trail than wide receivers coach Zach Asani. He went to 3 schools and Pitt, which granted is right there, but he was as visible as any positional coach this offseason. That generally signals they're going to look at that position, this position, of course, being wide receiver. So Dante Thornton is a guy that's true height, weight, speed. He's gotten some Martavis Bryant vibes with his big playability, his vertical asset, and just real feast or famine. He had 65 career receptions, but he had huge production off of that, almost 22 yards per catch and a bunch of touchdowns. He's a true second-gear guy that can win on slants, can win vertically, can stack corners and run away from anybody. He ran 4.3 flat at the combine. Now, he's a pretty rough around the edges guy. His route tree was limited, played that up-tempo Tennessee offense after transferring in from Oregon, but the guy can block, and if you can work out some of the rough edges in his game, I think he's athletic. I think he can eventually become a better route runner. There's some traits there. He's not stiff. He's not a linear, straight line kind of a guy in terms of just his overall athletic profile, but this is a guy that, again, you talk about big playability, take the top off a defense and create those splash plays that have been missing from this offense for far too long. Azani was also mentioned earlier at those pro days. He was at Tennessee, where he also coached and didn't coach Thornton, but maybe he knows somebody that's still with the program from when he was at Tennessee several years back that knows a little inside information on Dante Thornton. So it is true, kind of boom bust with him. He would not need to have a big role in 2025 with George Pickens and Metcalf and Austin and Freiermuth to throw to and a run-heavy offense, but assuming George Pickens is still on the roster through the weekend, he's unlikely to be back in 2026, and so by then, Thornton could be counted on for a much bigger role. Round 5 at 156, going Quinn Ewers out of Texas, the quarterback. It is hard to do a mock draft and believe Pittsburgh will not take a quarterback. Now, will it be in the first round? Who's to say? I obviously did not predict it that way, but with all the homework they have done at the position, they brought in 4 quarterbacks. They were at technically 4 pro days if you include Riley Leonard at Notre Dame, but they were at Ohio State for Will Howard. They were at Alabama for Jalen Milroe and the other prospects too. But they were also at the Texas Pro Day for Quinn Ewers, at least the night before. I don't believe Tomlin Kahn attended the actual workout. They were there for the dinners where they met with Ewers. And this is a guy that was once viewed as a potential first-round guy, did not have that kind of season in 2024, had an oblique injury, took his lumps, but still ended the year on a decent note with a good performance against Arizona State. Pittsburgh, in their old-school way, loves a winner. Ewers helped turn around that program at Texas from 5-7 the year before he got there. He went 27-9 as a starter. So do I love this selection? No, I'm talked about it before. I'm go big, go home at quarterback, first round or bust. Will Howard's my exception this year. Obviously not my mock draft, but if he does slip, I think Pittsburgh will want some sort of, even though the odds of Ewers ever becoming anything substantial starter-wise is slim, they want a rookie quarterback under contract. So they go into 2026 and are not constantly turning over the quarterback room yet again, as they've done each of the past 2 years. You would have Mason Rudolph under contract for one more season. He signed a 2-year deal, and then Ewers, of course, under contract for his 4-year rookie deal. So even if you sign Aaron Rodgers to a 1-year deal, he does not return in 2026. There is some pieces on your roster going into next offseason, even though obviously Rudolph and Ewers would not be viewed as your starters, but there's some continuity, some stability at the position, which I think Pittsburgh is looking for after turning the whole room over the last 2 years. Round 6, 185 overall, Carson Bruner, the inside linebacker from Washington. Last name should sound familiar. He is the son of Mark Bruner, the former Steelers tight end and current area scout who scouts out west in Washington, and that includes Carson Bruner, his son. So Pittsburgh knows him as well as any team would know Carson Bruner. Now, inside linebacker is not a pressing need, and they certainly could go, say, offensive tackle or just offensive line depth in general, which they need, or even tight end. They need a number 3 behind Pat Freiermuth and Darnell Washington. But Bruner is a guy that's athletic, had a good pre-jet process, ran well at the combine, ran a 4.58, can play on special teams, can cover, had a couple interceptions with the Huskies in 2024 and can play on special teams, challenging Mark Robinson for a roster spot. Also, there's no guarantee Cole Holcomb, even though he's still on the roster, they reworked his contract, he took a pay cut. No guarantee he's on the roster come September. Have no idea what he'll look like coming off that severe 2023 knee injury. So Bruner, Pittsburgh loves the bloodlines. They love those kind of stories. Porter, and even though he wasn't, the son of a Steeler, but guys like Herbig, and of course they've drafted bloodlines all over the place throughout, whether that's, high-end first rounders like TJ Watt and Cam Hayward, Terrell Edmonds. They're just bloodline central in Pittsburgh. Right or wrong, you probably hate it, but we know it's part of their history, and that's why this is what I think they will do mock draft, and they can't all just be the obvious names. Let's throw a little less obvious one, but with some clear ties in Carson Bruner. And then finally, round 7, 229 overall, Donovan McMillan, the strong safety out of Pitt. I wonder if he'll go a little higher than this after a good combine workout. He's a guy that was a tackle machine at Pitt. He's local. He went to Florida to begin his college career, transferred back to Pitt for 2023 and 2024, had over 100 tackles in each of those 2 seasons. Pittsburgh always loves drafting, especially under Omar Khan, a really good athletic guy in the 7th round, somebody with a high relative athletic score. That was Ryan Watts in 2024, and then offensive lineman Spencer Anderson in 2023. McMillan had a 9.2 RAS, ran a 4.46, 40.413, short shuttle at almost 6'2", 203 pounds. He's a really classic box safety, a good tackler. Not going to be a big asset in man coverage, but that true near the line of scrimmage, fill the alley, tackle, get the guy down type of player. Could potentially become maybe the next Miles Killebrew, somebody that could have a really good role and be an asset on special teams. McMillan also came in for a pre-draft visit. He was local, and of course, him coming in is a relative term considering he is right there, but Pittsburgh did have him in as a local visit, suggesting even a little additional interest. So those are the picks. I'll put them on screen right now and remind you one more time, because the comments will probably ignore some of this, but this is what I think will happen. Will this be correct? It never is, obviously. I like the top there. I think the order is generally correct unless quarterback throws the monkey wrench into everything, but defensive line, running back, receiver, quarterback somewhere in the mid-rounds is kind of how I think this thing's going to go, but you never know what could happen, and a trade could certainly destroy this entire mock draft. But those are the selections. Those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, so please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and again, check out the site, SteelersDepot.com. We have a ton of coverage every which way. If you want to see even my complete NFL mock draft, where I mock and map out all 257 picks with explanations for each selection, from 1 at Tennessee to not even sure who has 257 right now. I have not gotten to that point as of this recording, but my entire mock draft will come out on Wednesday, probably Wednesday morning. You can check that out and see what the picks are like. The picks for Pittsburgh will be different in that full mock draft than this one, where I just individualize things for the Steelers. So again, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Appreciate you guys watching. We'll talk to you after the draft, so thank you again, and we'll talk to you soon.